Duty played well in his savage pride till a deadly bullet laid against his life. He lay in the hospital, on his right hand stood death, and ruby pneumonia was down on his chest. The doctors gave up, they threw in the sponge, and the devil walked up and said, your time has come. I've got a little shack at the bottom of the hill, filled with pimps and players. They call this place hell, so put on these handcuffs. The trip has begun. Think fast, mother, cause your doom is out to run. The draft grabbed him by the throat, dragging him down the rug, when the nurse came running in with a miracle drug. The nurse's name was Julie, a tight Italian witch with a sweet dose of sugar and a pure blend of pitch. But she had dealt too long with pain and the needle, so that no man could pop her, though he begged, borrow, or wheedle. He might buy her some nice flowers, he might kiss her on the ass, he would make it to her pasture, but he'd never taste her grass. Julie said, this drug is virtue, it's never been tried. We shot 100 pigs with it and all of them died. But each day when the sun is shining, all will be well. Then when the sun comes down, you must battle with hell. He pulled her to his arms to show his relief. He tried to kiss her to show she saved him from grief. But she pushed him aside, saying, I've seen it before. A man gets feeling sexy when he's at death's door. Now, you're the kind of player I can dig and respect. But you run a game with the devil? That's more than I expect. Well, we'll find out soon, cause the sun is going down. He looked at she was right, he looked at she was gone. But the door opened up before he time to think, and death walked in, smiling so pink. Now they say death is Jewish, though he comes in strange disguise as a hawk, a judge, or a sparrow, but he's always got his high. Oh, did I say that Jay's a junkie and always needs a fix? Sometimes he's even cursed at life, but you don't get your pick. Death opened up his top coat, took out a gleaming vial, saying, would you like some powder? They say it's something wild. At first it comes on easy for a second and a half. You feel as peaceful as if you were rowing a raft. Then it hits you hard with a fist of burning pain. Then you enter paradise, so I guess you won't complain. Death took out a lighter, it must have been gold plate. Jay says, how much that answers? Your name is on my slate. Death took out a blackboard with Jay's name scratched in chalk. He said, I'm giving you a freebie cause I like how you talk that talk. If you don't like this first shot, I'll never trouble you again. But if you want a second whack, you must come down to my den. Jay had to approach me gingerly, pretend to burn his lips. The smoke went up his nostrils and his eyebrows were crisp. But all that Death had promised is true, both up and down. The highs started slowly, but he had to frown. Jay told him, never like the hospital, it's not a place to dwell. I guess I'll try your stuff. I mean, what the hell? What the hell is right, says Death. I like how you say my name. Take a puff of special smoke, you must suck it through the flame. But the Air Force turned him down, though he was fully qualified, so he stole a jet and fucked it up, hit the ground and died. Sark's got a message in this story for those who care to think. Women and men must have freedom, though the old men shrink. Next he entered the aerodome, pilot cap in hand. He dreamed he controlled a jumbo jet, feeling mighty grand. In Qu'est-ce que c'est la literature, Sark tells the story true. If a lone black man in Paris who would sell the sky was blue. And a drug's a kind of freedom, though it only acts inside. It's not the real world freedom, which is called taking a dark ride. When Jay's time was finished, his eyes popped awake. His pulse began pounding, and his hands began to shake. For his drug's name is Vice, whose power had never been booked. You thought it might kill you, and you knew for sure you were hooked. Jay said, I love that power, I've gotta have some more. Death bent down slowly and opened up the floor. Said, to make this journey, you must rest in a pine box. It's got some velvet cushions, oh never mind the rocks. Jay lay down and fell asleep, then he felt a chill. For a moment he was soulless, then he lost his will. But he woke up quite suddenly when cold fingers touched his face. He was looking at the strangest woman this side of outer space. She was the kind of beauty that sets Amanda crying, with that rough Chinese hair that looks as thick as a lion's. Green almond eyes like you find on a cat, a magnificent body, and the wings of a bat. She lifted him up from the place where he lay, said, I'm Ruby Pneumonia, your host is okay. I'll get you any drugs, and if it's sex that you want, I'm always ready in the back or the front. But there's one thing I should tell you, it's the motto of this den. What is easy for women can ease suicide for men. You may find it strange that we have only one rule, that the one that we do have must go by twos. What would you ask the starving to make laws for the bed? You don't ask the living to make rules for the dead. You mean I'm deceased? I'll never see Earth. She said, you're dead on probation till I've earned your worth. Stay here one night and touch any food. You'll go back up topside feeling quite good. But if you eat anything, even one treat, you must burn up in limbo ever after my sweet. Jay said, now I see the gamble, I can't choose but play, though all that I'll be winning is one livelong day. Cause the nurse, she told me so I could not forget. Though I win still each sundown, I must make the same bet. I understand the actions, so when do we start? Just tell me my line, or give me my part. She said, we'll go to Stormy Bay, that's where we'll begin. They're having a clam bake for some mutual friends. So they clambered down a gorge filled with fire and perfume, and plenty of fresh horses already in bloom. They traveled till they came to a broad, darkened lake, giving off neon colors each time that it quaked. And standing on the strand was an unusual crew. It was all the lost poets, drinking all the lost brews. He woke up again in his hospital room and saw the sun rising with heaven-sent gloom. Across the sky was falling a lavender film, like the dyingest ember at the bottom of a kiln. Like an oven spoke out in Hawthorne's Ethan Brand, whose charcoal is made of bloody by a fired-up man. Jake felt rather queasy, and he gave a mixed-up sigh. If you guessed 1,000 years, you wouldn't know why. For he had learned something new he was capable of. For the first time in his life, he'd fallen in love. He might cross his heart, he might hope to die, but Ruby Chang was a ghostess who'd make any man cry. A Chinese female vampire's not like the ones of the West. She doesn't suck blood, nor at night does she rest. But she does love murder and is afraid of bells. And if you fuck her even once, you go down to hell. Did I say Chang, not pneumonia? Chang was the name on Earth. That's important information, you'll see its worth. For Jay had embarked on love's most dangerous game, to turn a vampire to an angel by finding her name. He didn't know yet, Ruby let no one what it is. She had buried her mother, and she always told fibs. But to do everything in one day, that was Jay's plan. He would find out her secret, though he overturned the land. He tried to get up, but fell from his bed, his body as unwieldy as a piece of thick lead. He woke up later on a mattress of foam. His next play must be over the phone, but he'd have to think hard if he thought at all on how much with no money to make unlimited calls. You see, a big hospital is quite like a jail. The nurses are the screws and the welfare sent the bail. They tie you down with straps instead of chain and ball, but unlike a prison, they don't give you one call. Just then he saw passing the nurse who saved him last time. He called out her name, and she stopped on a dime. She said, "I'm glad you survived your first night of fear, cause if you went down, I'd have shed 2/3 tear. But don't expect help, you might go it alone. If you live a second night, I'll toss you a bone." Jay said, "I don't even want a band-aid, though a phone would not be dumb." She gave him a phone saying, "I'll let you call once." He called up the operator, he was planning a stunt. He asked, "Have you got a pneumonia down on your list?" Operator, "No, Jay, your voice is hard to resist." He went, "Have you got anybody with a similar name?" She said, "No, I can tell, you're a lady, not a dame." They say Ma Bell's computer got fantastic trace. It knows everybody's address and their license plates. They say it does things you wouldn't believe. Could I test it once to see if they deceived? Operator, "Okay, smart boy, give it one play. But don't hold your horses, cause I ain't got all day." Jay said, "That computer must know which people die." She, "If they didn't pay their service, we always find out why." He the dead's last name, not much of a trick, but you can collect their first names, that would be slick. See, I know a girl's first name, that much is sure. But what was her last? I'm a little unclear. Who died recently with Ruby as her first name? I think she was Chinese, or maybe a Dane. The operator looked and let out a sound. She said, "Huing, Chang, Chong are the names I found. There's something else here that's pretty odd. These women all live in the same abode, in different rooms on floors, first, second, and third, in a peculiar building called Brew Absurd, in Chinatown, down near the quay." Another odd thing, they died the same day. Jay then asked for the dead girl's mother's phone, and also if she didn't mind, could she throw in her own. She complied with his request, both the first and the last. He invited her to 2 nights to go for a repast. You might say he counts chickens way before hatching, or he opens the screen door before unlatching. You might say he mightn't live, but you don't see his plan. It involves a third request, really quite grand. He wanted to call the dead girl's mothers one at a time. He said he's out of his office without a dime. This is not something she acceded to quick, but as Jay faced up to danger, his tongue grew quite slick. He told her voice was just like a palm. From the grain of both ether, he knew her charm. He looked into her past and both ends of her future. He saw how she loved a man and how she tortured. First, they called Mrs. Chang, nearly rang off the phone. Either she was dead or she just wasn't home. Next, they tried Chung, but this was also bad. The company disconnected the line to that pad, but when they called Chang, their luck started to hold. A voice picked up the phone. It was brave, it was bold. It said she was the mother of that slanderous gal. She asked Jay if he was honest, if one of Ruby's pals. She said Ruby's death had been mentioned in the press, killed by a friend she wouldn't lend a dress. The whole thing was tragic and just wasn't right. She died in the river, spewing blood on Winter's eyes. Jay hung up thinking the paper's picture he's traced to compare this wildcat to his Hellcat's face. But his operator friend to other calls had gone on. Seemed she'd give Jay a dance, but not add a song. His wits were about him, but his friends sure weren't, so he took out his penis and began to jerk. His rhythm was steady, his pole quite rude. His hot rod got lengthy, then it got broad. Does it seem a wrong time recreation to take? He wasn't just fronting, but was planning a fake. See, near the store stood a cop, hat and belt on, so Jay called him Ann, and his hand held a gun. Well, not a gun exactly, but under the sheet. His penis was like one, though made out of meat. He made the cop kneel. This is a fact. Jay got out of the bed and climbed on piggyback. Their journey went smoothly, at least to the street, but there they were spotted. It was time for a cheat. A guard asked them where they thought that they went. Jay said he's going home to pay overdue rent. His landlord was the well-known Moneybags Trump, who charged a scandalous fee to live in a dump. Though crippled, Jay couldn't wait a single day more, or the only cake he'd have left would be to death's door. The cop let them pass and flagged down awry. They drove to the paper with no turn in luck's tie. They got to the building with no more stunning lies. Jay looked things up, the cop snoozing at his side. Jay went through old, odd, weird clippings, told of murder, fire, and wild bodies ripping. Finally, he found Ruby, the same body and face, though without her wings, she was out of place. He read enough to learn all the facts. All this was helpful in planning his attack. Transport back to the hospital didn't prove hard. He just turned himself in and went by squad car. Then he waited as the city's blue lights came up. He ate a big meal, sensing how he can't sup. The night soon arrived. It came very prompt. Death stepped back in. He was ready to romp. He said, "Would you like more of my wonder-working drug? You tried it last night, and I know that you dug the sensations you had, though some filled with pain. Still, anyone who tries this stuff cannot ever refrain." Jay said, "I don't want any, and I'll tell you why. It impaired my action when I had to live high. On Earth it's not like all things depend on the turn of a cheek or a scratch of a pen. But in hell you see they count every stroke. For one wrong mark they cut out your throat. So I'll enter clean, down for what goes, and I'll also be naked," he said, taking off his clothes. Jay kneeled himself and took up the floor, laid on his bed, and closed the top like a door. He was fully awake as he made this trip. He felt acceleration and his space-time rip. When he reached his journey's last leg, he opened the lid, pulling out the pegs. In an empty room, he heard someone speak. He replaced the top and hit without a squeak. A woman came in, moving very calm. She began shooting like she set off a bomb. Debris flew around, then came the smoke. After it cleared, boldly she spoke. "Jay, you were the toughest I've ever seen. That's why to kill you took a full magazine." Jay jumped right out from where he hid, saying, "Ruby, I wouldn't gloat till I knew what I did. While you blue as a coffin, that's quite a mess. You're a stone killer, but a trickster, I'm the best. There's an interesting book I got in school, though I freely admit it, I don't read as a rule. A treatise by Heidegger named Being and Time. Boy, that could argue and stop on a dime. Time is not found in a foyer of clocks, but in presence and absence, which must interlock. Freud's poor Dante can give us a clue. It was a game played by his grandgirl of 2. She had a spool on a string, threw it away, then reeled it right in. That made her day. Before it went out, it came in. She mined mother's nonsense, then brought back her kin. Now hanging from this thread is the meaning of time, which ejects and re-enters like a last word in my lines. Time's a human creation made out of loss. Knowing of morality had a cost, but hell is peculiar, because time does not pass. In fact, seems to go slowest when you put on the gas. Satan's deepest laid trick is here to cut away. Sequence of action, a hero's foreplay. For all heroes fight through temporal breaks, where the red line of nature crosses the white one of fate. She sucks on a moment like a bitter cough drop, tastes its full savor, then makes it hot. When time is broken, death plays his tricks, breaking your bones, smashing with his prick. Ruby said, "I don't get it, your meanings are hit, so instead of talking, let's dance in bed." Led him to a chamber with the curtains velvet blue, and a melancholy fireplace from which sparks flew. Embers were everywhere, like from a locomotive. Candles shaped like hairy members, anything but both. Jay said, "I've heard of Colston Castle, but this is worse. Like hanging skulls from a placard to prove it's a hearse. Why keep this place heated like you're frying an ox when we're at the center of the universe's hot box?" Ruby said, "I like feeling sweaty. It makes me feel keen to skid on a lover's skin like on a magazine. But lay down quick, cause I'm sure you'll agree. Action here is hotter than Earth's frigidity. To tell you the truth, his love had abated, though making love to her would be fully X-rated. But he was afraid that while tonguing her muff, he'd swallow a breadcrumb or some other stuff. As far as he knew, food here was banned. So while she lay on her back, he sat on his hand. She said, "Drop down your candle and let's see your crap." He said, "The tide is gone out that I don't have my wrap." She cried, "Don't worry, we changed the rules. Food's not banned here, though there's something you must do. If you screw me well till I softly repine, then we won hell's favor and go to Earth any time. But if you shoot your wad before I'm fully fed, you drop down below to the next layer of dead." Jay said, "If those are the laws and fees, I'm ready to start whenever you please." She said, "I've spread my legs, now you get a lock. Let's see how you do on a bed that's fire tossed." As she spoke, she flipped a great red switch, and the bed filled with flames that were bluish and twitch. Jay was making a plan, but he had to think fast. He would work out the details as he lay on her ass. There's something theatric, something real fine in how his muscular arms and her wings intertwine. For your woman has feathers, things change a bit. She might fan your face as you suck on her tit. When you start grinding, there's a special delight. As she nears orgasm, she'll lift you in flight. Now fire was all around them, but they rose above, till his bare buttocks against those cramped did shove. With explosive force, he lifted her ass, broke through the window and shattered the glass. Like an anarchist bomb hits a chandelier, a hurricane of echoes went round his ears. Next thing he noticed, through the air they sailed, pulled up by her wings and guided by her tail. He worked her from the bottom, which put him in peril. If he dropped away, that would be his farewell. He tried to turn over with every push and plunge, but she blocked every move and stopped every lunge. He couldn't make love forever or even much longer. As he felt her hip action, he knew she was stronger. He thought, I play a deadly game up here in the skies, fucking a deadbolt angel with dark Chinese eyes. To save the situation, he began to shift the job, altered his action each time that he logged. Using an obtuse angle and an obscure bend, he began to turn her head on his pin. As his feet picked up, they began to peel, and she spun on top of his tilt-a-wheel. She was fighting, trying to work her wings, but against his spiral, she couldn't do a thing. Now, wings have more lift than any rotor blades, so from the sky top, they began to fade. They approached the ground rather fast, if you can label ground a slop of boiling hash. Jay was fatigued, his knees pretty weak, so as they neared land, he did leap. He fell in the mud up to his throat. Ruby Hummingbird hovered and began to gloat. She said, your kick was deficient, it let you fall. Now you must go down deeper under the soil. The pool room is closing, let's deal the last hand. I'm sorry you slipped, but you didn't play a man. Jay said, didn't you like me? Didn't you care? Were our moments together only thin air? Ruby said, it's not what I like or what I want. I'm hell's emissary, that's my game up front. I must conform to the customs below, or suffer what our king's wrath can bestow. Jay said, can you grant a dying man's last request? It's not something that's hard, not too close to the vest. She asked his purpose, saying, what's your desire? Jay said, I'd like to greet the ruler of this fire. She agreed, invoked some magical charms. While she was busy, he freed up one arm. There came an explosion, and when the smoke cleared, there was Satan Magnifico, scowling from ear to ear. He was a tall dinosaur, covered with plates, which by their looks were ones from which he ate. He didn't look happy, he sure was not pleased. He must have been napping, for he wore BVDs. He yelled, what the hell is going on? Wreck this mess? You know I hate appearing in a state half undressed. I love cleanliness, he said and spat a plug. Just then, a sewer rat climbed up to suck his dug. I'm why you're here, Jay called from where he lay. I'm about to join our minions, and I'd like to play. They say as much as doing God deadly harm, you like playing a game they call wrestling by arm. I believe my strong right arm shall be your master, though I know if you lose, it spells your world's disaster. The devil laughed a mighty laugh, saying, what a toady. A corpse who challenges, though he does not have a body. Lucifer bent and laid up to his mighty flame. When his coal slice met the mud, it left off a wave of steam. As an after effect, the earth's consistency got thick, allowing Jay play of his limbs to plan a nasty trick. Bare handcraft nail claw, the combat had begun. The Hell Kings, each talon weighed near a ton. But Jay had a plan shoved up his sleeve, or under the mud where he braced with his knees. Sweat poured down, and Jay's arm began to bend. It looked like Jay's life had come to a second end. But there's one factor on which we enlarge. After all that humping, his weapon held its charge.